To understand why Fuan No Tane works just so damn well, you need to understand a core difference between Japanese horror and Western horror. Western horror tends to resolve itself neatly. The killer is unmasked, caught or killed, the ghost is banished, the curse is dispelled, and the evil house implodes in on itself. There may be a stinger at the end, but this is usually retconned as a dream in any future sequels. Japanese horror, on the other hand, generally revolves around regular people attracting the attention of an evil spirit or a curse without knowing it, and things getting spoopy from there, with either no true conclusion or something of a downer ending where the protagonist dies, often sacrificing themselves to save others, their friends, or family. See, something is only scary so long as it's mysterious. Once that mystery is dispelled, it's usually a lot less scary. It's why films like It Follows are so effective, but stuff like Truth or Dare or, let's be honest, the It movies kind of fall on their ass. Fuan No Tane, translated meaning seeds of unease or seeds of anxiety, penned by the incredible Masaki Nakayama, is probably the single scariest manga I have ever read and a perfect example of this kind of horror. Its publication history is a little complex and it's not exactly famous, but it evidently made an impact somewhere, spawning a sequel in the form of Fuan No Tane Plus, an even better pseudo-sequel, PTSD Radio or Aftermath Radio in some places, a feature film, and a new Fuan No Tane series, which... is that even out yet? I'll have to check. Fuan No Tane is not your typical horror story. It's not even an anthology. It's more of a series of vignettes and very short stories, at most a few pages long, focusing more on the scares, weird stuff, and occasionally something philosophical or humorous. And yet, wow, does this one get under your skin? I am not kidding. After finishing this for the first time, I ended up being so twitchy that I sat binging Bob's Burgers to try and relax my nerves slightly until maybe 5 AM. And believe it or not, the first Fuan No Tane is the least scary of all three. I am only going to tackle this one today, Fuan No Tane Classic, let's say. If there's any interest, I may do Fuan No Tane Plus and Aftermath Radio another time. Radio in particular is a can of worms, a long can of worms. I am not going to go through every single vignette. Instead, I'm going to focus on a handful of really good, really creepy ones. With that out of the way, let's dive on in. Now, it should be noted that each volume is divided into issues, usually bookended by a creepy image or a title card, generally with a bit of spooky abstract text like this one. In the corridors, at the back of the classroom, in the tool shed. There are a lot of places I'm scared of. I wonder if it's just my imagination. Yeah, that certainly establishes an atmosphere. Anyway, first up, the rear guard's decision. We open with a high schooler cleaning up after club practice in the school gym alone. After I'm finished and about to exit the gym, if I were to look at my face beside the gym entrance door, I'll never look. Followed by... What is that? Mr. Plinkett, do you want to handle this one?
What's wrong with your face?
So yeah, this is your first real introduction into the sort of horror waiting for you here. Nakayama really loves distorted faces, and seeing your own face distorted like this, man, simple, creepy, effective. Next up, the stingy buyer. A man plans to put a second-hand book out for collection, which is a thing in Japan, and he talks about how the book keeps falling off the shelf and mysteriously opening to the last owner's name, Michiko Kozue. He hears something and turns to the corner of his kitchen and... Bloody hell, that is haunting. See, this is what a lot of writers and filmmakers don't get about horror. As I said before, things stop being scary once you understand them, and things we don't understand tend to be the scariest. Like, look at that thing. What is it? Why is it there? And what does it do to the man? Next, we get a few weird ones, like this one, where a woman is taking a shower and turns to see this looking at her from inside the tub. None are especially scary, and one is evidently meant to be humorous, and the following issue is just as odd. Yeah, this one isn't all that great. We get some creepy faces appearing in everyday objects, a grandma with a bad case of Ringu eye, and similar. There's one good bit called A Walk in the Cold. On a clear, cold, freezing night like this, you feel that your voice can go for miles. If you yell, you'll wish you hadn't, because something will end up following you. Lovely. The next issue is fine. We get ghosts and body parts appearing in the rain, an odd, kind of sad story involving a sentient teddy bear and an invalid girl, and some other fluff. We go through a few more issues of weird stories before getting to the next truly creepy one, hide and seek. Some young girls are playing, well, hide and seek, and one is taken by the hand by another girl to be shown a good hiding spot. It doesn't end well for her. The next issue is where things start to pick up speed again. The first part is actually a proper story rather than a vignette, mid-air. A man is talking to a real estate broker about a house his brother bought, and it turns out that something in the house drove his brother stark raving mad. He agrees to check in on his brother, but when exploring the house, finds no sign of him. He does, however, find some rope hanging from the ceiling, and decides to stay the night there. Okay. Sure enough, he wakes up to... Oh, that's not good, and neither is that. A perfectly good campfire story, that's great. There's a bit more, including one where a guy probably wisely decides not to enter a specific toilet cubicle, and things keep on going at a pretty decent clip into the next volume, with a balance of odd, macabre, and somewhat spooky vignettes, but nothing too special. The next really good one comes quite a bit later, and it's called Patrolling. A group of students are bored in class when they see this weirdness walking by the window. It's initially more surprising than scary, until... Yeah, see, this is the stuff that gets under my skin. It leaves just enough up to the imagination for us to freak ourselves out. As we proceed deeper in, we get some more macabre humor, a pretty good one where a guy is pursued by something that screams, which turns out to be this thing. Nyeh. But buried in all of this is the longest and probably one of the most scary stories, told across a few chapters. The setup is simple, and yet pretty bloody haunting. A woman named Tomomi is walking with her friend Anna and picks up a pair of sunglasses for a man who dropped them, only to notice that he's not human. And worse, he notices her noticing, grinding his teeth in a weird, off-putting way. She runs away and attempts to forget it, but sure enough, she starts hearing the sound of those teeth grinding whenever she's alone, and then begins seeing him following her at a distance. Things start to escalate when she starts hearing the sound in her house at night. She turns on the light, and the sound continues, and something starts to climb up onto her bed. Yep, that's scary as hell. The next scene starts with her and Anna discussing it, and Anna buys her a charm to make her feel better. It seems to work, as Tomomi is finally able to get a good night's sleep. Then she starts hearing the sound again, turns and sees something in the shadows on her desk. And this right here is probably what gave me the biggest scare in the entire manga, as she realizes what it is. The head of the creature sitting on her desk on top of her book, looking at her. Yep, I hope you're wearing your brown pants. Tomomi turns the light on and the horrible thing vanishes, but the book is now filled with Anna's name and the word eliminate. Oh bugger. Anna is absent from school the next day, but Tomomi is relieved to hear that it's just because she has a cold. Tomomi goes to visit her, but is told that Anna is too sick to see anyone, and then she catches a glimpse of Anna looking down from the window, and notices that Anna's eye is now the slitted eye of the creature. We are then told that Anna moved away. The final part of the story occurs an unspecified time later. Tomomi is at home when the creature attacks her, revealing itself to be some kind of Shoggoth, appearing behind her in a wall of eyes and kills her off panel. Brrr, that series is creepy as hell, and to be honest, not much in the rest of Fuan No Tane Classic really tops that nightmare, but there are still a few good ones. The first is Insistence. A man is staring out of his window when he sees something unusual sticking out of a pile of garbage. Weirded out, he thinks that it's still moving. He hears something, turns and sees...
What's wrong with your face?
I love the way Masaki Nakayama draws a creepy face. It's so damn haunting. As we go on, we get more creepy faces appearing outside your window. Yeah, that's spooky. A lady with holes instead of a face walks alongside you while you push your bike. Malformed things stare out at you from the bushes of the park. And Onryo follows you back home. Visitor is the next one I really dig. A man lives alone in an apartment and from time to time sees a woman-shaped thing wandering around outside. He isn't especially scared of it until one night where he wakes up and realizes that it's coming into his apartment. He nopes out of the second-story window onto the balcony and shuts the window behind him just in time to see this slam against the glass. Bloody hell. Eyewitness testimony isn't particularly scary, but it does seem to be one of the bits of Fuan that people do seem to remember, and yeah, I see why. A local worker sees a man sticking half out of a hedge calling for help. He decides to ignore him, but eventually gets called over, and the man says he was in a motorbike accident and got thrown over here. The worker starts clearing away the hedge, but discovers a lot of blood. Sure enough, the man was in fact torn in half vertically by the accident and is now kind of fused to a concrete barrier. Again, not especially scary, but still unsettling. There's a bit more spookiness as the series starts heading towards its conclusion, including a child drawing foreshadowing the arrival of a series' favourite creature that will pop up in Fuan No Tane Plus, the sequel series, but most of Volume 4 is honestly unremarkable. At least until the very end, which is where, to be honest, my absolute favourite Fuan No Tane story lies. One that I like so much that, for a while, I was contemplating making it into a YouTube skit. It's called Instead of an Epilogue, and it's the very last thing. Nakayama often inserts his own personal stories into the Fuan No Tane books, generally as a bookend at the end of a volume. These are supposed to be based on things he's personally experienced, and this one, oh boy. Nakayama talks about how, as a child, he was scared of a lot of things, but in particular, a picture book. In the book, there are various animals covering their faces before taking their hands away and going, bia, sort of the Japanese way of saying boo. It's all very cutesy-poo and age-appropriate, at least until the end. The final picture is of a young boy, and when he reveals his face, it's a deliberately designed jump scare image. The author recounts how much this traumatized him and how he probably started writing horror to deal with it. He then turns, hearing something in the corner of his room. Something that sounds like a quiet bia. But there's nothing there. Anyway, that's me for the... Sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, that's me for the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? It really helps a lot for a new content creator like myself. Otherwise, if you have something you'd like me to review, feel free to let me know in the comments. Cheers, take care, and I'll see you next time. Let me know how you sleep tonight. This is the Owl, signing off.